Oh, there it is. And your sign says, you might be a redneck if you go to a Jeff Foxworthy show on your birthday. Whose birthday is it? All right, you got your phone with you? Get it ready. All right, there you go, bro. Yeah, can I, hold on. You know this is a show, right? I'm just... whose birthday is it? Happy birthday. How's it feel to be 20? Happy birthday. Today's the actual day? All right, get your phone ready. Oh, I can't get over there. Happy birthday, darling. What were we talking about? Oh, things we didn't know. Here's one I don't know. I don't know how come every time I get great tickets to a concert, I always end up being seated next to somebody that has to sing every song at the top of their lungs. So I live in Atlanta. Several years ago, Simon and Garfunkel were coming to Atlanta. So my wife wanted to go. She had a couple of friends that wanted to go. My mother-in-law really wanted to go. Give you a little backstory on my mother-in-law. My mother-in-law had hearing aids that she would never wear because she thought they didn't look good. But because she wouldn't wear them, she couldn't hear anything, and she talked louder than anybody on the planet. One night around Christmas time, we go to the movies. We're in that long line at the concession stand. My mother-in-law walked over to me, tapped me on the shoulder, and goes, "Don't look now, but the man behind us is cross-eyed as a bat." Which is bad for two reasons. One, you're embarrassed to death. And two, when somebody says something like that, you've got to look, yeah. So then I'm like, turn around, he's glaring at me. Well, he may not have been glaring at me, but he was glaring at somebody. So we go to the concert. Somehow I end up being next to my mother-in-law. She doesn't have the hearing aids in. She sang every Simon and Garfunkel song, and she knew the words to none of them. Like a witch over Bubbles' daughter. Are you kidding? I will grease your pine. Grease your pine? That's what you got out of that? I don't know why cats never throw up in the daytime. They don't. Cats wait till you're lying in bed, almost asleep, and then from somewhere in your home you hear, heck, 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 heck. Remind me to put my slippers on in the morning. And you do want to put your slippers on, because you find that with your bare foot, you don't need coffee, because you are awake and looking for a cat. And my wife, bless my wife's heart, she has to clean it up every time. It's not that I haven't tried, I have. It's just every time I get near it, I make the same noises the cat makes. And my daughters always fuss at me. They're like, "Dad, Don't go on stage and tell people things you don't know. That makes you look like an idiot. They're like, if you don't know something, Google it. I mean, maybe to a point they're right. I mean, because when I was growing up, if you were watching TV and somebody said, what was that guy in? You'd go, man, he looks familiar. And that was it. Now you watch TV, somebody goes, what was that guy in? Somebody takes their phone and goes, he was the janitor on Joey. So you can Google a lot of things, but what my kids don't understand is there's a lot of things you're not going to be able to Google in life. There's things you're only going to learn through life experience. I call them the facts of life, things you can't Google. Like this, fact of life. If you are trying to get to the bathroom in an emergency situation, it is not a wise idea to unbutton your pants in transit in the effort to save a couple of seconds. Because the muscles that guard the floodgates will interpret that unbuttoning as the signal to abandon their post, and the 2 seconds you save on the button are nullified by the hour and a half you spend mopping and doing laundry. Google won't tell you that. You learn that one the hard way. Fact of life, out of all of the cereals, Captain Crunch is the most time intensive. Here's what I'm talking about. You eat it too soon after you pour the milk on and you will rip the roof of your mouth to shreds. You wait too long after you pour the milk on and the captain will put a film on your teeth a wire brush can't get rid of. Google won't tell you that. Fact of life. You can have a wife with long, beautiful hair, or you can be on time. Speaking of wives, fact of life. If your wife hints that she might be in the mood, your kids will sense it and won't go to bed for 3 years. Speaking of kids, fact of life, the more kids you have, the worse your parenting becomes. People that only have one child are making homemade baby food out of organic vegetables they're growing in their own backyard. Yeah, by the time that fourth kid rolls around, you're smoking a cigarette while you watch your toddler pull a year-old milk dud out from under the stove and eat it. Pick the cat hair off of it before you put it in your mouth, dummy. Fact of life, out of all of the dinosaurs, the Tyrannosaurus Rex was the meanest because his arms were too short to reach his wiener. That's a medically proven fact. That will make you so angry. Fact of life, 100% of the black men that shave their heads look really, really cool. 50% of the white guys that shave their heads look like they just murdered their parents. Fact of life, flying on an airplane makes you gassy. Nobody ever talks about this one. Nobody acknowledges it. We all just take our roll-around suitcase and walk to baggage claim, popping them off like a trail horse. And if you're laughing at that, it's kind of a giveaway. Fact of life, just because they sell a thong in your size doesn't mean you should buy a thong in your size. Take the lid off of a giant tub of cottage cheese and you're just not going to make it any prettier by laying a colorful ribbon down the middle of it. That's Larry the Cable Guy's favorite joke I tell. So, Fact of life, if your wife or girlfriend gets tipsy, it's a very fine line between her talking sexy to you and sleeping like a hibernating bear. And by fine line, I mean about half a sip. It's like, oh, you wait till we get home tonight, baby doll. Ooh, I am gonna tear you out. And once she has crossed that line, she ain't coming back. It's like the paramedics putting the paddles on a body with no head. You're wasting your time. Come on, baby, wake up for just a minute, all right? Just a minute. 35 seconds, that's all I need, 35 seconds. Fact of life, women always have more questions than men have answers to. Great example of this. One night I get a text. The text said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. I got up and went through the house, found my wife in the kitchen. I said, hey, just got a text. It said, please pray for Tom. He's in a bad wreck. She said, was he driving? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He's in a bad wreck. She said, were Carol and the kids in the car with him? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, were the people in the other car hurt too? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, do they even have insurance? I said, I don't know. Just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He was in a bad wreck. She said, what hospital did they take him to? I said, I don't know. I just got a text that said, please pray for Tom. He's in a bad wreck. She said, you don't know anything. What do you know? I said, I know you need to pray for Tom. I just got a text that said he was in a bad wreck. Not holding anything back. That's all I got. Fact of life, you do not want a kidney stone. You may want to paint your butt cheeks in honey and sit in a fire ant bed, but you do not want a kidney stone. You may want to fall wiener first in a badger hole, but you do not want a kidney stone. Show of hands, how many people have had a kidney stone? How many people have fallen wiener first in a badger hole? One lady over there, okay. Here's how I know you do not want a kidney stone. A couple of years ago, I'm getting new tires put on my truck. They've actually put the tires on. I'm inside at the counter. I'm just about to pay for them. I feel great. Out of nowhere, it was like I got shot in the low back. I made a noise. I was like, ah! I didn't say it was a masculine noise. It was a noise. About 10 seconds later, it hit me again. I was like, well, D-Wayne, the guy that's ringing me up, looked at me and he said, and I quote, he goes, hey, I ain't no doctor, which caught me off guard. I mean, I had assumed he was a doctor and he didn't like wearing his stethoscope while he was changing my tires. He goes, I ain't no doctor, but I think you've got a kidney stone because my brother had one and that's what he acted like. And it wasn't that I didn't trust D. Wayne's diagnosis, but I got to thinking, you know, Jeff, you have a little money. Why not get a second opinion? So I have a friend that's a urologist, and I called him. I said, dude, I think I might have a kidney stone. He said, well, come in, we'll do an x-ray. And I went in, they took the x-ray, and he comes out. He thinks he's a comedian. He's like, well, he said, I got good news and bad news. He said, the good news is you don't have a kidney stone. The bad news is you have 5 of them, and one of them's huge. And he proceeded to give me an anatomy lesson. Apparently, the stones form inside the kidney, but you don't know you have it when it's in the kidney. It doesn't hurt. He said it's only when it decides to leave the kidney that it has to go down a tiny tube called the ureter down to the bladder. And he said a big stone can be 6 or 7 times wider than that tube. And for people that haven't had one, they really need to rename them, because if you haven't had one, when you hear stone, you're thinking smooth river rock, gently tumbling down the stream. No, this is not what a kidney stone looks like. Kidney stone has got spikes and hooks and blades. It looks like a giant ball of rusted barbed wire with razor blades super glued to it, and then Tabasco sauce all over the top of it. So every time it moves, it is ripping and tearing through blood vessels and muscles and nerves. That's when it hurts, is when it moves. He said passing a big one, it's like trying to get a porcupine to walk backwards through a garden hose. And the pain, he said, of a big one is the equivalent of a woman giving birth without even taking an aspirin. So help me out here. I got this spotlight in my eyes. Holler out, any women here tonight, you've had a kidney stone and a baby. You've done both. Right here. Which one was the pain worse? They were a tie? You're going to, okay, a tie. Anybody else? Over here, a tie. Which one was the pain worse? The child. 2 babies, 2 ties. Over here, the yellow. Kidney stone. We're tied. 2 ties, 1 baby, 1 kidney stone. Kidney stone. Boom, kidney stone's winning. Back here, the baby. Dang it, tied. Anybody else? Right here. Kidney stone, kidney stone. Yeah, so that's my point. I mean, they're both horrible, but as defense attorney for the kidney stone, this would be my argument. A couple of years after having a baby, you will hear a woman say, you know what, I am about ready to have another child. You never hear anybody go, well, I'm about quit puking and crying. I think I'll drink a case of Coca-Cola, see if I can't work up another kidney stone. They're both horrible pain. And when my doctor saw the size of the big one, he immediately started writing me a prescription for Percocet. And I said to him, I said, dude, I don't take aspirin. There's no way in hell I'll take Percocet. That thing started moving. I am eating Percocet like they are peanut M&Ms. I went from being Dr. Oz to Keith Richards in about 3 seconds. And one night the pain was so bad the Percocet wasn't making a dent in it. I looked at my wife and said, you got to take me to the hospital. I think I'm dying. And if you ever have a kidney stone and you have to go to the hospital, remember this. Jeff told you, they're going to laugh at you. She dropped me off at the emergency room. She went to park. I walk in, nurses at the desk. She goes, what's wrong, hon? I said, I have a kidney stone. She goes, She said, you're going to be waiting a long time tonight, baby. I said, no, ma'am, I'm not waiting. I said, I ain't never been in this much pain in my entire life. She goes, well, you just feel like you're going to die, but you're not. She handed me the clipboard and shooed me. I go sit in the waiting area. I sit down next to a man that has a knife in his head. This guy's got a knife stuck in his head. I said, oh my word, were you in a fight? He said, no, I have a kidney stone. I did this to myself trying to get to the back there. And sometimes when that stone, the big stone would move, it would settle in such a way that it would block the urine, which was so weird because that tiny tube would balloon and you felt like you were just about to wet your pants, but when you tried to go, air. And did they give you, when you had yours, did they give you a strainer to pee through? Yeah, they give you a strainer because they want you to catch the stone so they can test it, find out what it's made of, and you can eliminate that from your diet. So every time you pee, you got to pull that strainer out. Remember the very first Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, the little animal? Remember the prospector in that? Yukon Cornelius, that's who I felt like. Nothing. Well, this went on for 6 weeks. 6 weeks. I passed the 4 smaller stones, and every day that big stone, it's moving a little bit, and it's putting me in the floor. And they said, as long as it's moving, we're going to let you try to pass it. But and every 2 or 3 days, it settled in such a way it blocked the urine, and I'd have tears rolling down my face, and I thought I'm going to lose my mind. And then all of a sudden I hit 4 days where I felt great. And I thought, well, did I miss it in the strainer? Or maybe it dissolved, who knows? So I went back to the doctor. They took another x-ray. Well, that big stone had lodged at a bend in the ureter right next to the bladder. But because it lodged, it wasn't moving, so it didn't hurt. And it wasn't blocking the urine. And I'm like, let's leave it there till the Lord comes back, right? But the doctor is looking at the x-ray and he goes, man, I don't like where that's at. He said, I'm going to give you about a week to pass it, and if you don't, we'll have to go get it. I have a question. When you say go get it, what kind of trip we talking about there? He said, well, we've got this flexible metal cord that's got a retractable claw on the end of it. He said, what we do is we run that claw up your exit only ramp. He said, we go through your bladder, he said, and we find the stone. He said, we grab it and we drag it out kicking and screaming. He said, once we get it out, we'll put a stent in the claw, go right back in a second time, and insert that stent into the walls of the ureter, which by now, quite honestly, have lost the will to live. He said, we'll leave that in there for a week or two. We go in a third time. He said, we'll just grab the stent and we yank it out. And I am thinking, since they outlawed waterboarding, this is what they do to get terrorists to talk. So where's bin Laden? I do not know. You don't know. Okay, well, we're going to get the flexible cord with the claw and see if we can't find a kidney stone. You sons of the beaches. He's living in Pakistan in a White House on the corner. The gate code is, yeah. You'll find him upstairs, 3rd bedroom on the right. Oh, I'm telling you, the idea of 3 trips with a claw scared the willy out of me. I'm like, I'm not doing that. I took my daughter's advice. I Googled it. Google said, drink cranberry juice. Maybe that'll help pass it. I'm guzzling cranberry juice. I'm jumping on the trampoline. I'm doing anything I can think of that might loosen this big stone, and it must have worked. Because a couple of nights later, my wife and I were watching TV. At one point, I got up to go to the bathroom. Right in the middle of going, I had this little split-second little knee-buckling sharp pain. It's like, whoa! And I look down, and there is a gray, spiky BB rolling down the inside of the toilet towards the hole. And I'm not proud of this. But after 6 weeks, I wanted that stone. And without thinking, I stuck my arm in that warm toilet water, I grabbed it and I pulled it out. I wiped my arm on my jeans, I zipped them up, I marched down the hall to the living room, I went to the mantle, took down my People's Choice Award, and I put it right up there in the track lighting. Dang it, I got to get out of here. I wish I didn't, but I got another show in December, and I'm trying to get ready for that and everything. But I hope y'all had fun tonight. I hope you had a few laughs. I'm not naive enough to think laughter makes people's problems go away, but I do think laughter is like kind of like the release valve that keeps the boiler from exploding, and we need to laugh at ourselves every once in a while because we're all idiots, you know. We are. Nobody's got life figured out. So I'll leave you with this story, with your permission, because I've been blessed to do a lot of things. I paint, I draw, I write books, host game shows. But if anybody along the way had ever put a gun to my head and said, you can't do but one thing, without hesitation, it would always be stand-up comedy. I love stand-up the most because when I do stand-up, when I do this is what I see. And every night I'm like, thank God it's not just my family. Other people are doing that. The only negative thing I've ever found about being a stand-up comedian is you're on the road by yourself, which is why doing the Blue Collar Comedy Tour was probably my favorite thing I ever did, because I wasn't by myself. I was with 3 of my buddies, and every night we had more fun off stage than we did on stage. And people would say, I bet there are so many stories during those years y'all did those tours, and there's a ton of funny ones. But I'm not going to tell one-on-one the other guys because they're not here to give their side of it, which is probably funnier than my side. But with your permission, we'll close out the night. I'll tell you a comedy road story that happened to me. So in the summer of 2019, right before COVID, Larry the Cable Guy and I were doing a ton of dates together. And when you do dates in the summertime, you get used to being hot because you're either doing fairs or amphitheaters or music festivals. They're all outdoors. Hell, we did a music festival in Phoenix that summer. It was 113 degrees. And people were going on stage. And the promoter was trying to make everybody feel better. He's like, come on, everybody. It's a dry heat. I'm like, so is the electric chair. It's 113 degrees. But you can see, and tonight the weather's so awesome, but I just don't sweat much. I never have. But we did this show one night, and I'm not going to say the name of the city because somebody here has computer skills good enough to find the video of this. It wasn't only hot, it was humid as rip. So I go on stage, 10 minutes into the show, I got sweat dripping off the end of my nose. It's making a little puddle on the stage. 20 minutes in, I look like I'm in a wet t-shirt contest. By the end of it, I literally look like I've been sprayed with a fire hose. I've never sweated that much in my life. Everything was just stuck to me. To the point, I walk off stage, they've got a towel packed with ice, and I go in the dressing room, and I am just guzzling Gatorade, trying to rehydrate. And we almost never eat before a show, so we're always hungry when the show's over. And so as I'm sitting there chugging the Gatorade, I hear Larry the Cable Guy coming down the hall. And he swings into my dressing room. He's like, hey, let's go eat. And Larry says this 6-7 times a day, you know. And I usually go because it's fun to watch Larry eat. It is impressive. But you know how you get when you get too hot? And I said, dude, not tonight. I got way too hot. I'm not hungry. I think I'm just going to get in the van and go back to the hotel. He goes, yeah, right. Come on, let's go eat. And I said, I'm not hungry. I got way too hot. You go on without me. He said, are you kidding me? He said, boy, I can't wait till you ask me to do something for you. Like, what are you, 9 years old? I said, it's not personal. I got too hot. I'm not hungry. I'm going back to the hotel. And I did. I got the van to take me back to the hotel. And anybody here that makes their living on the road, you know, you got your little way of doing things when you're on the road. Like I always... We're up late, and so I like it really dark in a hotel room. So I always close all the blinds, and I like it really cool, so I turn the thermostat down. But every day you're in a different city, and every hotel room's a little bit different than the one you had yesterday. So one of my tricks is I always turn the light on in the bathroom, and I'll shut the bathroom door, but that way if I wake up during the middle of the night, I can see that light down there at the bottom of the door, and I'll get oriented. It's like, you know, my guiding star. And I usually sleep in my underwear, but this night they're soaking wet. My socks are wet, and I'm like, I ain't sleeping in wet underwear. And I told you I only packed 3 pairs. So I peel them off, I flop in the bed naked, and I'm out. I wake up about 1:30 in the morning, and I really, really have to pee, probably from all the Gatorade and stuff I drank. And any man over 40 knows what I'm talking about. You have to pee so bad, you know you ain't going back to sleep till you do it, but you don't really want to wake up. You just want to take care of business and go back to sleep. So I get out of bed with my eyes half open, I see the light, and I walk in there. Well, as soon as the door closes, I realize I'm in the hall.
Oh, good.
Of a really nice hotel without a stitch of clothes on. And you want to wake up in a hurry, mister, this is the way to do it. So I knew Larry's room was right across the hall from mine. So I run over there and I'm frantically knocking on his door. And he's not answering. And I just know he's peeking through the keyhole and laughing. But as I'm knocking on his door, I hear the elevator ding. I'm like, well, now I got a 50-50 shot, because whoever this is, they're either going to get off and come towards me, or they'll get off and go the other way. Well, these two Korean guys get off, and they're talking with each other, and they turn and they start towards me. And I'm like, what the heck do you do? And I'm like, you act like nothing's up. That's what you do. So I start walking towards them. I literally pass them in the hall. Hey, how you doing? All right. And one of them said something, which I really hoped meant, wow, that was impressive. But when I looked it up on Translator, I found out it meant, did you see her mustache? So I know I can't get on the elevator. I know elevators have security cameras. But at the end of the hall, I can see the exit sign over what I assume is the stairwell. And I'm like, Jeff, at least get out of public view. So I start jogging down the hall. And I hope in the stairwell there'll be a trash can with a trash bag that I can take out and, you know, make like a, I don't know, cute little sundress, something like that out of that. So I get in the stairwell, there's no trash can, but at least I'm out of public view and I can think. So as I'm trying to think through what do you do, I noticed a couple of empty beer cans laying in the corner. Well, the reason I got up in the first place was I really had to pee. And now, naked, I don't have any idea how long it'll be before I am in an actual restroom. And so I pick up those empty beer cans and I pee in them and I put them back in the corner. I know, I felt terrible. Because I know somewhere down the road somebody will have to clean this up. But they were old Milwaukee cans, and I figure when they pick them up, they're going to go, yep, that's old Milwaukee, all right. So the plan I came up with, this hotel was nice. They had 24-hour room service. So I thought, I'm going to go down the stairwell and look on each floor for a room service tray outside somebody's room, because they have cloth napkins that I could, you know, like make a diaper out of or something. So I'm going down floor by floor. I'm opening the door, looking down the hall. Well, I get down about 3 floors. I don't see a room service tray, but I do see 2 pizza boxes out somebody's room, which looks like a folded tuxedo to me. I mean, it looks... So I scamper down there, grab those 2 pizza boxes. I get back to the stairwell and work my way all the way down to the lobby level. I never found a room service tray. But by now, it is really late. It's like 2 in the morning. And at lobby level, I can crack the door and I can see almost the entire lobby. I don't see a soul. I don't even hear anybody talking. And I'm giving myself a pep talk. I'm like, Jeff, you got to be brave for 20 seconds. So I got 1 pizza box in the back, 1 pizza box in the front. Go scampering around the corner to the desk. Thankfully, there's a lady there working. As I approached, she looked up and went, oh. She said, can I help you? I said, oh, yes, ma'am, you really can. I said, I have accidentally locked myself out of my room. I said, can I just get another key so I can get back in? And she said, do you have any identification? I got, a freckle on this butt cheek. That's all I got. Yeah. I'm like, no, I got nothing. I locked myself out of my room. She said, you need to wait right here, and I'm going to go call a manager. And she goes behind the wall, and I'm thinking, she ain't calling the manager. She's calling the cops. But it's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm standing here with a pizza box in front of my junk. Where am I going to go? So they had a bellhop stand. It was just like a little podium, and I got over there behind that with my pizza box, and I'm just waiting on her. Well, as I'm waiting, all of a sudden the front doors to the hotel go sliding open, and in walks Larry the cable guy and the tour manager. And I'm like, thank you, God. My rescue, answered prayer. Now, again, they walk across the lobby. I am naked, holding a pizza box. Larry doesn't say, oh my gosh, buddy, what happened to you? He looked at me. He looked at the pizza box. He goes, I thought you said you wasn't hungry. Really? Yeah, I just been sitting here naked eating pepperoni in the lobby. I said, dude, I accidentally locked myself out of my room. Well, about that time, here comes the front desk lady back, and now she's got a security guard with her. And I said, Larry, I said, I need you to do me a giant favor. I said, will you tell her who I am so I can get a key and just get back in my room? And he looked at me. He looked at her and he goes, ma'am, I have never seen this man before in my entire life. And he got on the elevator and went up. Left me in the lobby. Now, thankfully, the security guard burst out laughing. He thought that was the funniest thing he'd ever seen. And he recognized both of us, maybe one of the nicest human beings I've ever met. He got the magic key. He rode up the elevator with me and the pizza boxes. We walked down the hall. He let me in my room. I said, wait right here. I went in and got my wallet. I gave him a $100 bill. I said, thank you so much. Do me one favor. Please never tell anybody about this. And now I'm telling y'all for free, right? So, but I got back in my room. I put my sweatpants on, put a t-shirt on. I made sure I had that room key in my pocket. And I waited about 10 minutes, and I walked back across the hall and I knock on Larry's door. He opens the door, he's still laughing. He goes, I told you I couldn't wait until you asked me to do something for you. I said, well, you got me. I said, are we even? He's like, yeah, we're even. I said, well, just to prove I don't have any hard feelings, I went and got you a beer. God bless you guys. Be safe. God bless Iowa. I love you. Take care. Good night.